Here's the story of my behind-the-scenes trip to the Brady Bunch house. I just read a Los Angeles magazine article about our trip there that referred to me twice, and it's prompting this video. So it's pretty interesting to see how other people that don't know you and don't think you're going to read their article view you and the experience you guys are having and how differently you see it. So this is the house that should not exist, right? It's a house used for exterior shots, goes up for sale 50 years later after the show, bought by a TV channel that gets the original cast back together, gut the house, rebuild it to look like the sets they filmed an old show on, worldwide search for original props, this and that, recreate the whole thing, dig up the lawn, put in AstroTurf. Crazy, right? Shouldn't happen, but it did. Most iconic show, it's as iconic as a character of the show. So I, of course, want to go be there. I want to be in it. I want to film it. I want to photograph it, and I want some pictures of me in it, especially me on the staircase, you know, the iconic publicity shot they always use, right? I don't live in Los Angeles, but when my opportunity comes, and it was kind of a once in a lifetime thing, I don't think it's going to happen again. We can get into that, but I booked my spot, $275 for 90 minutes in the house. But for me, it's also time off from work, several days, plane tickets, hotels, transportation, the whole nine yards, right? But I'm going to do it. Now it's time to be at the house, and I arrived 15 minutes early. Nobody's there. Now, I remember the one time they had this before, which was 2 months earlier, the pictures that were posted, they were catering food, you know, pork chops and applesauce. People were in costume. The host was there, dressed up in 60s appropriate clothing. It's kind of a big deal, right? People were there having fun. So I was surprised to see it kind of look like a ghost town out there, and a little worried because I have had multiple things in the past that I set up and they didn't go as planned. I planned a trip for 19 years to the original filming locations of Star Wars out in Tunisia, getting together translators and everything, you know, go out there to North Africa. And when the trip actually was underway, I ended up getting deported back to America from Moscow before I arrived there. The hotel was attacked by the Taliban. All the tourists were killed. That was 11 years ago. Still haven't made the trip. Okay. For my 50th birthday, I planned different things to do every day for a full week, actually 8 days of celebration. One of those was gonna go surfing. First time ever. Always wanted to go surfing. I have a guy out at the Space Coast, Cape Canaveral. He's going to give me lessons, get me on a surfboard. There's a separate company that's going to film it and photograph it, the whole thing. I like to document my experiences, right? I make the 4-hour drive up there. I got the hotel, everything. I get out there. Nobody shows up. Nobody answers their phone. Nobody answers their Facebook messages. I have to go rent a board, jam my phone in the sand, try and take pictures and film of myself out there trying to figure it out on the waves, and then come back home and get reimbursed for everything. So I'm in front of this house, nobody's showing up. I'm worried again. Am I going to knock on the door and no one's going to answer? I don't know, but I got some time. I'm going to do some filming out in front of the house and try and make the most of this in case people start to arrive. So I do that, and that's exactly what happens. I get to film, I get to photograph, and then 2 cars arrive. Out of the cars come 2 couples, man and a woman about my age and a teenage kid, late teens. Another car, man and a woman about my age. And they are there to go on the tour of the house. I'm like, okay, so it is a group thing. It's not a scam. We're all going to go in. We go up, knock on the door. Someone dressed as Alice answers, lets us in. Now I go ahead of everyone because I'm filming and I don't want them in the shot. So I just kind of like get to the front of the line, right? And I try and stay ahead of everyone. I hear behind me, the man and woman that came together that didn't have the teenage kid, they get stopped. Your name isn't on the list. Let's try and figure out what's going on here. Well, how come you don't have a receipt? How come you don't have a confirmation number? This and that. I leave them in the dust. I'm trying to get a bit ahead of them, get some film footage, get some photos, stay out of everyone's way. When I hear them come behind me into the room, I move to the next room, so on and so forth through the house. Again, it's just a house, so I can't stay away from everyone the whole time. They got just as much of a right to be there as me, and they're enjoying it too. Well, when I go to comic book conventions, I find myself frequently definitely in line with people who are saying lots of nerd trivia, if you will. This happened in this Spider-Man comic, or this artist did this, or blah, 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 or Star Wars or whatever. And I'm always listening and I hear how they get everything wrong. Of course, I'm not going to be the jerk that jumps into everyone's private conversation and correct them. No, actually, the real thing that, no, I don't do that. But it registers that I'm always hearing that, well, in the Brady Bunch house, the couple that was stopped for not being on the list and somehow made their way into the house anyways, they are reciting different things from different episodes. And I remember this, remember that, whatever. As we're passing, passing through different rooms and stuff. I'm trying to stay out of their way, what have you. I'm trying to do my thing. I'm there on a mission. And at some point, they turn to me and try to include me in a bit of their trivia. And I just say, yeah, that's right, but not in that season. It was in the first season, something like that. And then I move on my way and they go, oh my gosh, do you have a Brady Bunch podcast? And okay, 5 years ago, well, now 6 years ago, I did do a little personal podcast. I only went through the first season, couple minutes per episode. You can watch them all here in this playlist where I did do a little podcast for myself. Nobody listened to it. Nobody watched it, whatever. So my answer to her was yes. And then I moved on. I didn't want to explain that, I don't really have an active podcast, but it didn't matter, right? I just answered the question. Yes, moved on. And we're about 45 minutes in of our 90 minutes. And the first couple, I think they got a little antsy that their teenage son was just like wanting to get out of there, and they bolted. Not to mention, the first weekend they had this with the catering and the costumes and the host there and everyone smiling and photographing and all that. That was not happening. Nobody was there. There was a woman there. I don't know who she was. Maybe she is the private owner of the house, but she seemed exceptionally annoyed that we were there. And then there's the lady dressed as Alice who was kind of tasked with following us around, make sure we don't, break stuff, steal stuff, whatever. It's fine. And they have little CCTV cameras in every single room filming us. I get it. I don't want this place damaged or anything either, okay? No biggie, right? Well, they were kind of getting perturbed at the lady that owned the place. I don't know what her thing was, but she just kind of like looking at her phone, looking at her watch, kind of huffing and puffing, this and that. Okay, whatever. I have went through a lot to be here, and I'm going to get my film footage and my photographs and stay out of everyone's way, and then I'll be on my way. It's okay. You're annoyed with us. I don't know why. You guys made a lot of money, $130,000 for the weekend for us to come out here. Total is what they said they made the first weekend. So I don't know what you're so annoyed about, but that's your problem, not mine. I'm gonna do my thing. Now the first couple's gone. Now the second couple, I thought they were a couple. I'll tell you more about that in a second. I hear them downstairs say, does anyone actually stay for the full 90 minutes? To the Huffy Puffy host or owner or whatever, and Alice. And I hear them respond, no, not really. And then the lady of the couple, she says, yeah, I can see why. I mean, how long can you stay in a house? I mean, hey, you know what? We kind of done everything we need to, right? She's talking to the man she's with. And he goes, yeah, sure. You want to go? Yeah, okay, we can go. And they leave. Well, that gives me a little bit more time to just kind of run through real quick and get whatever shots that I seem to remember I missed because somebody walked in the way and I didn't want to be a nuisance to anyone. So I figured, well, I'll just come back. So I just backtracked a little bit. I only spent another 15 minutes. I ended up leaving 15 minutes early. So I was only there 75 minutes, but I got what I needed and I went on my way. But you could tell that I don't think this is going to happen again. The big weekend it already happened. They enjoyed it. They were in a euphoria and they said, let's do this again. But by the time that time came, they didn't show up. And whoever was tasked with being there did not want to be there. And I don't see this happening again. So I'm glad I got to do it when I could. That was that. Made my video. Everybody's watching it. Made my photographs. Loving it. Everything's great. And then this article comes up in Los Angeles magazine. Apparently that woman and man that came together, the woman is a writer for the magazine and the man is a photographer she brought with her. So they're already there in town. They just kind of outlaid the $275, do this on a lark. You're able to make an article and you both get paid for it, right? So I'm reading the article and they say it's kind of negative, oh, it's not all that you'd think it should be. You're trying to take a trip down memory lane and everyone's upset that you're there. First of all, we get to the house and there's overly serious people waiting, meaning me. and the couple with the annoyed teenager. We're somehow overly serious while we're just waiting outside for like 60 seconds before we knock on the door. And then she refers to me again, this man filming everything with a shell-shocked look on his face that just screams that he is the host of a Brady Bunch podcast. No, you asked me if I had a podcast, and I said yes. That was in the house 45 minutes later. It wasn't an expression on my face that told you I must be. So for the rest of the article, which is very short, only a couple paragraphs, I was referred to as the podcaster. This is crazy, right? So then she's talking about we finally wore down the podcaster to speak to us, and he blew us away with his trivia. It reminded me of all the times I'm on Fox News to discuss politics, and I find the people around me know so much more about the subject than me. A little patting yourself on the back for being on Fox News all the time, right? Okay. I'm like, did you really break me down to finally talk to you? And then I blew you away with all my trivia knowledge? All I did was when you asked me to join in on this thing, I said, yes, but not in that season, and I'm gone. Okay, whatever. That's your take. You're trying to make an article. Okay. Now the photographer, he takes a picture of her. She's on the stairs doing this. He takes a picture of a lamp. He takes a picture of a couch. That's it. Professional photographer. 2 paragraphs. Professional writer. I am in the wrong line of work. Then they say, you know what? We couldn't take the pressure of them not wanting us to be there any longer, so we had to get out of there. But how do we explain to our hosts that we have to cut out early? Oh, I know. We'll use a line from the Brady Bunch. Something suddenly came up. Just like Marcia says to get out of her date when she lines up 2 dates at the same time. Well, no, you didn't make any kind of a line from the show to make an excuse to duck out. You said, does anyone actually stay here? And they said no. And you go, yeah, I couldn't imagine why. We've done all we need to. We'll leave. So that was the article. I had a good time. I don't care for the huffs and puffsers. I don't care for the annoyed teenagers. I don't care for the people that live in town and go there on a lark and are upset by it or whatever. I went through a lot to go there. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I'm glad it happened. So, hey, from the overly serious podcaster, I'll see you next time.